This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Have a match in Tacoma. You're not at ringside for the match as Arn Anderson and Scott Hudson take your place, but you're backstage. We all know the match was, less than awesome. Tell me what's going on backstage and Vince's reaction as this match is going down.
He was not happy. He felt like it was below our standards. And, Scott Hudson had a lot of experience there in Atlanta, in that area. Smart guy, good guy. And Arn was one of the great promo guys. You find out real quick, there's a distinct difference in doing promos and doing commentary. Major difference. So, but we thought Arn was such an impressive talker that he could do the commentary, and he knew the game and knew the, insides and all that stuff, knew where to go, not to go, or did he? So I don't think either one of those guys had a chance to work together. So I'm not aware that they got a chance to do a run through of any kind. So how they could be expected to be really, really good is kind of beyond me, quite frankly. So, but the match was not good, and it just didn't move the needle. As a matter of fact, it took it to the other direction, and Vince lost a lot of confidence in the fact that we might be able to do something with WCW, because we put two guys that we thought could have a real good match. Booker T is one of the best ever. It just didn't work that night, and he was not happy. And of course, the slow death then began in Seattle or Tacoma, where the hell it was.
Do you remember let's talk about the announcing gig for a minute, because obviously this is something you're probably on top of. It made the Observer. Hudson had talked, we're talking about the announcer here, Scott Hudson, who you may remember from WCW. He had this one-off match where he and Arn called it, but here's the Observer write-up. Hudson had talked with JR a few months back when he came to Atlanta, and Ross gave him the impression he would be strongly considered for an announcing job. This was when they were under the impression WCW would have the Saturday night late time slot on TNN, and when that fell through, nobody was called back. Hudson wrote Ross a few weeks ago, noting he had until June 15th to make a decision as to whether or not to go back full-time at work with his government job or to continue working part-time. At his work, he had been switched to part-time because of all the time he spent working out of the office for WCW. Ross did get back to Hudson before telling him that in the short term, there was nothing that appeared to be on the horizon for him, which is likely because Joey Styles seemed to be the prime candidate for the WCW job. So Hudson then informed his bosses at his government job he's coming back full-time. Then, with the plans to introduce a WCW announcing crew on July 2nd in Tacoma, the Joey Styles deal had fallen apart over money, and Hudson was given a call to come to Connecticut for a week of training to be the lead voice of WCW. Hudson got there, but surprised the WWF by telling them, "Hey, I've already gone back to work full-time and I can't take the job, but I'm willing to help you out since you guys are in a jam," and agreed to take the spot for a few weeks to just get the angle going. Hudson's partner was supposed to be Jerry Lawler. Lawler had been called by WWF officials several days before Hudson was called to ask if he could start working in Tacoma, which he agreed to do, which was to be a secret arrival in an angle booked by the creative team. But when the word got out, Lawler denied having ever talked with anyone or that he would come back, because the WWF, like with Diamond Dallas Page, wanted it to be a surprise. Nobody from the WWF denied the story or would confirm it, and according to Lawler, the deal was finalized on June 28th. According to Lawler, he was supposed to be introduced with Hudson by Shane on Raw as the new WCW announcing team, and his wife Stacey Carter would accompany him to ringside. Lawler was told the next day that Vince McMahon wanted to make it clear they had no role for Stacey Carter other than appearing on Raw or SmackDown with Lawler at both shows in Tacoma, which Lawler agreed to. This would have resulted in both missing their scheduled bookings in Memphis on July 3rd. By the 30th, Lawler was called again and told that he wouldn't be getting a contract. He would be getting a contract, but she wouldn't. And at that point, Lawler backed out of the deal. So a lot to unpack here. It's a mess with Scott Hudson and apparently Jerry Lawler. Do you remember there being plans that perhaps Lawler would have been a WCW commentator, but it all fell apart because of Stacy again?
Yeah, I remember that situation. Jerry just trying to be loyal to his wife.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why he bolted, and that's why he quit abruptly and left. So, but there was never any talk that I can recall. I think Jerry probably thought in the old school way that, well, if we get her to TV and she's there and she gets a little pop, and
they'll use her.
They'll use her. But Vince, he still had those issues that, that she was hard to work with in his view. That's what he was told by the producers and the writers and creative people. I never had one problem with her. None. I don't know that she was a big issue at all with anybody in her peers, the other ladies. But, she had enough product knowledge to know that when something was good or maybe something could be made better. And in the way of the world in pro wrestling, Conrad, nobody wanted to get that critique from a female. So she didn't do herself any favors, even though she didn't really do anything wrong. But that was the situation. But we thought, bringing Lawler back in that role, he was great at it. He and I had a hell of a run for many, many years, that he would be a great addition to that brand. But when he found out that Vince was set on not doing anything with Stacy, then Jerry, retreated. And so then there we left again with what we got. So we weren't prepared for all these things. We weren't prepared for all these injuries. We weren't prepared for all these, I want to work full-time, I work part-time. Oh yeah, I'll come do it. Well, Scott would have been a good addition because he's a company man and he's intelligent and reliable. But was he going to be the long-term answer? I don't know that question. I don't know the answer rather. But that's kind of where I saw that deal. But Lawler could have made Scott better, no doubt. Because Lawler still would have been the star of the show, just like he was when he worked with me. I always knew I was the point guard, and my job was to get him the ball. And that's what I tried to do. So that's where we were on that deal. It was just a cluster, to be honest about it.
It's fascinating to think about what if. We recently did an episode with Eric Bischoff over on 83 Weeks talking about what his plans would have been had he gotten control of WCW towards the end of the first quarter of 2001. And he talked about moving the show to Las Vegas and setting up a residency there. And he also talked about the commentary team. And he had conversations with Joey Styles. He had conversations with Tony Schiavone and, of course, Jerry Lawler. And Bischoff revealed that his plans, had he actually acquired WCW, would have been to keep two shows going, a Nitro and a Thunder, and have Joey Styles as the lead voice on one, probably working with Cyrus, who we know these days as Don Callis, or as Tony Schiavone says, Don Calais. I don't know why he says that. And then, of course, the other show would be Tony Schiavone and Jerry Lawler. And I thought that was interesting that both of those guys are your old tag team partner. And now that they might be getting together, how do you think that could have worked?
Good.
Tony and Lawler.
Oh, it's been great. Tony came back when he came back to work for AEW after Tony Khan had recruited him and brought him down to Jacksonville for a meeting and lunch and all those good things, recruiting things. Tony was very much ready to come back to wrestling. And that was the first time he had that attitude about it in quite some time. He had kind of walked away from it with not a great taste in his mouth. So I think they would have done terrific. Tony's just like he is now. He's solid as a rock. And like I said, I use this word a lot, man, reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody listen, reliability is a hell of a thing in our world right now. When you got people that don't want to work, but they are willing to take all the benefits of unemployment or whatever the case may be, I know down in Jacksonville, they're offering truck drivers up to $5,000 sign-on bonuses. And it's because they can't find anybody to work. People can get by, and that's what they do. They get by. They found their little comfort zone throughout.
You got to get excited about saving people all those dollars. They can limousine ride and jet fly now with that extra cash.
And they can style and profile with a quick 10-minute phone call right now to 425-0105.
That's 0105. Woo!
SaveWithConrad.com.
Side monies that they haven't earned. So anyway, I think Jerry and Tony would have been phenomenal, or any combination there. Joey Styles, excellent commentator. You know, Joey was really stuck on what Joey was a devotee of the ECW style, the rough and rugged, blood and guts, hardcore. We are hardcore. We're ECW, all that shit. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. He was loyal. So Eric had some pretty good ideas there. Those guys could have done a real good job for anybody's television show in any combination that they chose to be placed in. So it's a good idea. I thought I didn't realize that content on 83 Weeks, Conrad, to be honest with you, but it's it's not bad stuff at all.
Well, I'm curious from your perspective, when we talk about what did happen, we just sort of laid the groundwork that.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.